Where do your vegetables come from? Do you know if they're safe to eat? Do you know if they're locally grown? Who are the companies and people behind the scenes ensuring food safety? So where does it all start? Let's take a few minutes to explore Bonduelle's commitment to quality processed vegetables. It all starts in the field with partner growers, men and women who farm their own land and their own crops. They are proud and passionate about what they do. Bonduelle invests in partnership and trust with growers by working alongside them. Over the years, this collaboration has built strong relationships. The company's trained agronomy staff support growers in the monitoring of their crops and provide them with technical advice.
Bonduelle North America is a very dynamic group. We grow multiple vegetables. We have a great grower base. We have great field expertise. In North America, we have 12 processing facilities doing both canned and frozen vegetables. And the geographic dispersion is very important to us because not only is it's spreading out our agricultural risk, but it's giving us a different dynamic so that we can grow different crops. Whatever the customers require, we can pretty much do. We grow peas, green and wax beans, lima beans, celery, broccoli, cauliflower, sweet corn, diced and sliced carrots. We're into turnip, rutabaga. We're a dynamic company. We have a lot of product offerings.
Our family has been farming here in this municipality since the 1830s. Farming is in my blood. Our success is based on the people we have working here, the wonderful resources that we have in our soils and climate, and our partner Bonduelle.
We've worked with Bonduelle since 1971, actually, with the Ingersoll plant. On our farm, we use a lot of different methods to remain sustainable and environmentally friendly, from minimum till to cover crops to using organic manure. All these things come together to reduce our footprint.
To preserve the trust, well-being, and reputations of its customers, brands, employees, and shareholders, Bonduelle Americas makes sure that customers' quality and food safety expectations are met every day. In all its activities directly linked to the world of farming, Bonduelle attaches the highest importance to what is known as sustainable development. The group's corporate social responsibility relies on 6 priorities: natural resources, quality and nutrition, transport, human resources, relations with stakeholders, and agriculture. These priorities form the foundation of the following Bonduelle sustainable agriculture practices. Research. Bonduelle believes that research in agriculture is the best way to achieve its sustainable development objectives. What does this research look like? Bonduelle's research and development program conducts trials using regular research plots. Researchers test and advance methods to improve sustainability, increase crop production, and encourage innovation in the field. It's only through research and testing that the agronomy staff can discover which growing methods, seed varieties, fertilizers, nutrients, and soil types are optimal for a given vegetable. The group's agronomy staff evaluate hundreds of different variety strains in research plots to finally end up with just 1 or 2 new varieties, which Bonduelle growers across North America will plant the following season. The strongest, most productive strains are selected using conventional breeding practices.
We plant this crop in wide rows to allow lots of air movement down between the canopy to keep it cool and dry to reduce the risk of disease development. So you can see right at the top here, that flower has just been pollinated naturally and by beneficial insects. And right there, we've got the beginnings of a bean developing.
Field and crop management begins at the land farmed by Bonduelle growers. Growers are selected through the company's grower approval program. At the start of each growing season, Bonduelle Agriculture Department staff will conduct an assessment and approval of all potential growers and their fields. Upon approval, the contract is signed and the season begins. But it doesn't end there, it's just the beginning. Growers make sure their fields have a well-prepared seed bed so that seeds are able to germinate successfully. They also determine the crop's needs in terms of water, nutrients, and protection, as well as the best seeding practices for the specific variety they will grow. Bonduelle works to provide growers with the necessary information they need To make these decisions, and Bonduelle Agronomy staff monitor the growers' vegetable crops during the entire growing season, from planting to harvest.
So we're in constant contact with Bonduelle throughout the season, leading up to planting. As that crop progresses, just keeping in touch, we're monitoring the crop. A lot of our tillage practices, we try to leave residue on the soil in the fall, that land's not as susceptible to erosion as maybe some of the older practices. We're rotating our crop protection products to make sure that resistance doesn't develop from diseases or weeds. And our fertility programs are designed that we're not over-applying.
Bonduelle's Agronomic Charter is aimed at employees working for the Bonduelle Group. This includes growers, contractors, transporters, suppliers, and salespeople. The Charter is an active document signed by growers and used in the field. It details Bonduelle's requirements and specifications throughout the production and supply process. Bonduelle's Agronomic Charter is the group's benchmark, establishing common risk management rules to be applied during the agricultural and industrial process. The earth is our main agricultural wealth. It feeds our vegetables. The group makes sure to encourage practices that will contribute to preserving or even enriching the soil's biological activity, thanks to tillage techniques, plant cover techniques, and crop rotation. Soil testing programs implemented by the company's growers verify the nutrient need for the crops that are being grown. Soil preservation practices are used to prevent the soil from erosion. The use of cover crops is a common practice by Bonduelle growers in North America. Bonduelle Agronomy staff carefully scout each field weekly from planting to harvest, monitoring the presence of any crop pests such as insects, as well as weeds and diseases. Bonduelle practices integrated pest management by controlling pests while minimizing impact on the environment. Scouting and trapping methods are used to monitor the ecological pressure of insects and disease at the field level. Bonduelle only implements a control program if a specific threshold of pressure is reached. This ensures a minimum impact on the environment compared with traditional preventative practices. Prior to harvest, the maturity of each field is monitored closely to ensure optimal maturity is achieved. Each field is manually sampled multiple times before harvest. Testing is done to check the quality and to estimate the yield. The harvest plan is carefully crafted on a daily basis by the agriculture manager to ensure that the plant will have a steady supply of mature crops to process every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day during the entire harvest season. Harvest is always a rewarding experience each year. The fruits of all this labor, or should I say vegetables, are finally revealed. Bonduelle's field staff work closely with harvest operators and fresh produce transporters to ensure that every load of vegetables is delivered to the plant at peak freshness. Once delivered, the vegetables are cleaned, prepared, blanched and frozen, or canned within 4 to 6 hours after harvest. This locks in all the valuable vitamins and nutrients. That's why we call it better than fresh. Traceability and Records. Cutting-edge customized software made specifically for Bonduelle is used to track every crop. Every field is linked to a crop ID number that is followed through Bonduelle's internal system to the final packaging, enabling full traceability from field to fork. This system keeps the company in touch with the necessary records everywhere, all the time. Now you've seen how Bonduelle strives to provide safe, high quality, and wholesome vegetable products. So the next time you enjoy vegetables from Bonduelle, remember the team whose dedication and support goes into every growing season to provide quality, locally grown, fresh processed vegetables.